In the bustling city of London, in the year 1666, a young apprentice named Thomas Farriner lived above his family's bakery on Pudding Lane. Thomas, a wiry boy of 14 with bright eyes and a quick mind, loved the smell of fresh bread wafting through the cramped wooden shop. His father, a master baker, supplied bread to many in the city, including the king's court. But life in London was not always sweet. The city was a maze of narrow streets, with timber houses packed so tightly they seemed to lean into one another. Fire was a constant worry, but no one could have predicted the disaster that was about to unfold. On the night of September 2nd, 1666, Thomas was sweeping flour from the bakery floor. The air was warm, and a dry wind rustled through the open windows. His father had gone to bed, leaving a few embers glowing in the oven to keep the dough warm for the morning. Thomas, tired from a long day, didn't think much of it. He blew out the candles and climbed the creaky stairs to his attic room, where he fell into a deep sleep. Around midnight, a spark from the oven caught a pile of dry kindling. A small flame flickered, then grew, licking at the wooden beams. By the time Thomas woke to the smell of smoke, the bakery was ablaze. "Fire!" he shouted, rousing his family. His father, mother, and younger sister, Eliza, stumbled out of bed, coughing as thick smoke filled the house. They barely escaped, running into the street in their nightclothes as flames roared behind them. Pudding Lane was soon a chaos of shouts and clanging bells. Neighbors poured into the streets, clutching their belongings. The fire spread quickly, leaping from one wooden house to another. Thomas grabbed Eliza's hand, his heart pounding. "We have to get to the river," he yelled. The River Thames was their best chance to escape the flames that were now lighting up the night sky. The city was unprepared for such a blaze. London's fire brigades, with their leather buckets and the hand-pumped water carts, were no match for the inferno. The wind carried burning embers across streets, igniting roofs and haystacks. Thomas and his family joined a crowd fleeing toward the riverbank, where boats were already overcrowded with people and their possessions. The air was thick with ash, and the heat was unbearable. As they reached the Thames, Thomas looked back and gasped. The fire was a monster, swallowing entire neighborhoods. St. Paul's Cathedral, its great dome a symbol of the city, stood in the distance, surrounded by flames.
"Will it ever stop?"
Eliza whispered, her face streaked with soot. Thomas didn't know, but he felt a knot of guilt. Had the embers in the bakery started this? For 4 days, the Great Fire of London raged. Thomas and his family found safety on the riverbank, watching helplessly as their city burned. By the time the wind died down and the flames were extinguished, much of London was gone. Over 13,000 houses, 87 churches, and St. Paul's Cathedral were reduced to rubble. Miraculously, only a few lives were lost, but thousands, including Thomas's family, were homeless. In the days that followed, Thomas wandered through the smoldering ruins of Pudding Lane. The bakery was nothing but ash and charred beams. His father, usually stern, put a hand on his shoulder.
"It wasn't your fault, lad.
He said,
Fires happen in a city like this."
but Thomas wasn't so sure. He vowed to help rebuild, to make things right. The people of London were resilient. King Charles II ordered new rules for rebuilding the city. Houses would be made of brick and stone, streets widened to prevent another disaster. Thomas, now working as a laborer, hauled bricks and mixed mortar, learning the trade of a builder. He watched as a new saint, Paul's Cathedral, designed by the brilliant architect Christopher Wren, began to rise from the ashes. Years later, Thomas stood in the shadow of the new cathedral, its dome gleaming in the sunlight. London was alive again, stronger and safer than before. He thought back to that night on Pudding Lane, the spark that changed everything. The Great Fire had been a tragedy, but it also sparked a new beginning. Thomas smiled, knowing he had played a small part in rebuilding his city brick by brick.